Hello guys, and welcome back to Leah's Lifestyle. We're at it again with another book club, and just like last time, we're doing Payback Time, chapter 1 this time. So I hope I had 2 weeks was enough for you guys to be able to get the book, whether it was from your library or you paid for it or however you managed to get it. I hope you got it. I hope you read chapter 1, and I hope you're all caught up and ready to go over some notes with me. I did some research on some of the stuff that I found in here, and I'm really excited about this new way that we'll be doing the book clubs instead of just straight up reading it or, just straight up taking like the notes that I highlighted from it. I'm really hoping this will give you guys just a little bit more information, and it'll be a little bit more fun and interactive. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Don't need to open this book because I've already taken my notes. So we'll be doing, you guys, I forgot to open up straight to where. This is Payback Time by Phill chapter 1. So page 1, we are going to do, he talked about a few people who he brought up were on the top millionaire list, and I kind of I wrote down what he put from the book, and then I went over each one of them and found out where they were now, how much money they're making now, and kind of clarified through like what it is that they're working and how he considered them to be essentially like rule number 1 investors. And one thing that I realized in this is these people do not invest like he does. They're not investing in the stock market. They're investing in whole businesses. For example, we know that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett do that too, where they invest in whole businesses. They buy the whole business. But one of the big changes from that is that they also started investing in the stock market, and they invest in the stock market the way they invest in large companies. So I think the idea that we're supposed to be taking back from this, because they all invest in different types of companies, is that we really need to be paying attention to how we're investing in things. Even though we might not be buying a large company, we need to make sure that we're looking at it as if we are buying a large company, paying attention to it as if we were going to own it for forever, because that is what these people who have been extremely successful are still on the top millionaire list of Forbes have done. And so we want to follow in their footsteps, maybe not to become 100 billionaire, right? But like to be able to have wealth enough to be able to happily get into old age without having to continue to work into our 70s. That is the goal. So page 1, we start with Carlos Slim Hilo. He's from Mexico, actually. In the book, he says he's number 3. So at the time, he was number 3 on the top, 400 or world millionaires. And right now, he is number 16. During this time in the book, he had $35 billion. At this point, he has $126.9 billion. So 10 years later, he's more than doubled that. He said that he was in New York's Times stock. I could not find specifically any New York's Times stock, but I found that he is in the Turkish stocks, and he is in the Mexican stocks with America Movie SAB, PBF Energy Inc., and Talos Energy. He's also with the Turkey. As of April 2026, he got into Turkcell. And there may be some books that he's written or written about him, possibly. And I think that's for most of these. I hadn't found anything that really stuck out to me, but maybe look into them if you're curious to know more about their lives and how they made it. The second one is Lakshmi Mittal. He was number 8 when the book was written, and now he's number 70. He's from India, and during this book, he had $19 billion, and now he has $32.4 billion. So doubled in the last 10 years. He said in the book that he runs the largest steel company called ArcelorMittal, and when I looked it up, it looks like he has a 40% trust ownership in it. And he also has 2 other companies that he's a part of, Aperium, which is another stainless steel. It's a manufacturer in Luxembourg, and that is also 40% ownership. And HPLC, Mattel Energy, and he has a 49% ownership in that. So he has, it seems, put some money into new companies. And again, there are some books written about him, or that he's written about his life. Number 3 on page 2 is Bernard Arnault. He's from France, and he was number 15 during this book, and now is number 7. He had $16 million when the book was written, and now has $158.2 billion. So more than doubled in the last 10 years. And at the time of the book, the only thing that was written about him is that he owned Christian Dior. But now that has increased a whole bunch. So now there's a Luma company, or LUMH company. It's 48 to 49% ownership over, and that includes Louis Vuitton. No, he owns Christian Dior at 97.5%. And with Christian Dior, within that company that he owns 48 to 49% of, they have also Louis Vuitton, Sephora, and Tiffany Co. in that company. He has 200 million euros that he's been donated to the Notre Dame Cathedral to be rebuilt after it was burnt down, and he led the sponsorship in the 2024 Olympics for France, as well as founded Mac Ventures. I'm not sure what that is. I didn't look into it, but he's no wonder why he is so successful, and I'm sure he'd have more if he hadn't spent 200 million euros donating to get the Notre Dame Cathedral put back together, but I'm really glad he did, truthfully. Then we have number 4, Li Ka-shing, number 16 from China. Then $16 billion, now $45.1 billion, and now he is number 1 in Hong Kong and number 37 world. So he's the top richest man in Hong Kong. In the book, Phill said he was invested in energy, banking, and utility companies. And I realized why he said it like this, because when I looked into it, he specifically invested in those companies in the Hong Kong, what am I trying to say? Index funds and I'm losing my thought process. It's okay. But anyways, it's called the HKSE, and he has numbers 01113, 00001, 01658, 00778, 87001, 00215, 00805, and these are all banks, telecommunications, trusts, and real estate, essentially. Investments that he has in the Hong Kong. Why can't I remember what it's called? Like the S&P 500, what is that? Like an index. Wow, I don't know why I'm not remembering it. We'll remember it later, though. But he also has, owns parts of, which I think are part of these stocks, are Genesis Energy, three different holding trusts, CK Life Science, TPG Telecom, and Tom Group are some of the examples of companies that he's working with. Number 5 is Charles and David Koch. They were number 19 in the U.S. when this book was written at $14 billion each. Now they are number 17 on Forbes 400 and number 25 world. They have together a combined $75 to $73.8 billion. In the book, they said that they have the Koch Industries, and I looked into it. That's all they really have now still, and it's at 42% holdings for them. Number 6 is Michael Otto, number 23 from Germany. He's now number 589 in the world, and the book didn't say how much he had, but now he has $6.82 billion. The book did say that he owns shopping centers in the U.S., and I did find that he has the Auto Group, which is a retail company, and they own 40 different companies. He also has an ECE group, and he owns the Paramount Group as well. And I think that's actually underneath the Auto Group. I don't know if it's separate. I didn't see that. Donald Bren, number 7 is Donald Bren. He was number 26. Now he's a number 144 world and number 53 Forbes 400. During the book, he had 12 billion. Now he has 19.2 billion. The book said he had Irving Company and Banks, the largest construction company in California, and developed 1/5 of the Orange County. What I found about that is that they own 129 million square feet of property. They made MetLife buildings, Fashion Island, Irving Spectrum Center, VCZ Research Park, Newport Center, and Jamboree Center. So they've built quite a bit of things outside of just California. On page 3, we move away from learning about some of the people and the industries and how much they've made that Philltown considers to be Rule 1. And like I said, these people clearly don't really own stock. They own companies and have grown these companies. So I think the whole point of introducing us to them was to realize that Rule 1 is not just like in stock. It's the way that you function in life. It's like finding the true value as much as its true value of something can be, and then paying half the price for that to own it, and then allowing compounding rates to grow. I'm trying not to bring in too much notes from like the other books that I read and trying to focus on this, but that's hard to do. Okay, so page 3, he starts talking about stockpiling. Buying stock in a business you are excited to own all of. When the price goes down, you buy as much as you can. Stock investing is not different from buying a business. Typical stock investors want prices to go up and hate when they go down because they gamble, since they don't know the true value. And I think that's the biggest part of this, is he's really wanting us to understand that like it's not about buying the stock, it's about the mindset that you have around it. You need to believe that if you're buying stock, that you're going to be buying the whole company, and you need to understand how to value the entire company so you can understand how much the stock price should be based on that value, not based on what investors think it should be because of like their belief of how much it should be growing or it will grow in the future. And that stock investors outside of us, like what we are trying to do as investors, is we're not trying to guess and gamble and assume what it is. We're trying to make sure we know for sure what it is and pay attention to the finances to know that it will keep growing. Page number 4. See yourself as buying a business, not a stock. Page number 5. Buffett was called losing his touch 2 times, once in 1960 and once in 2008, when he held back from buying and held onto a mass of cash. Knowing price is not value. So I do think at this point he talks about Buffett, which one of the people we pay attention to quite often, mostly because Philltown has introduced us to him, and the companies that he's functioned in have been very successful. And so we want to follow the people who have been successful to be able to make success ourselves. A big thing about understanding this is knowing that somebody who's been so super successful has twice in time held onto mass amounts of cash, twice in time been said, even prior to now would be a third time, because now his company, Berkshire Hathaway, has been holding on to a mass amount of money, and people are criticizing, like, what are you waiting for, right? Because he's already done it twice, where he's built up all this money, waited for a crash to happen, the crash happened, and then he used all that money to buy back stock. I'm really curious to know if the money that he's held onto and bought back the stock has been one reason why our economy has been so successful. After one is because he's been able to pay back into it and give money back to the companies to keep them running through these times when people were taking all their money out. It'd be really interesting to see if we could find some statistics or numbers and figure that out. Page 6. The secret is to buy and stockpile a business and make sure the value of it is substantially higher than the price you pay. Price is just the amount you pay. That is it. Value is a very different question. So I think the whole point of the first chapter really is just get your mindset around figure out what the value is. You need to know you can get the value and the true value, not the what everyone thinks it should be, but the true value, and then be able to pay a price that's below that value so that when it eventually comes back up and even higher, you are going to make a huge profit. 97. Page 7. Superficial problems that have nothing to do with value can have a big impact on price. And this is so true. We see it now, especially with Tesla, especially with SpaceX. Like we're watching this very beginner companies that haven't been, like, Tesla's been around now, but SpaceX is just starting, right? That haven't been around. Even when Tesla was brand new, when it was just starting, people bought into it like crazy. Bitcoin is a good one too. People buying into it. But no one knew if these companies were actually going to be successful, if they were going to be around for a long time, or if they'd make a lot of money later. No one knew. It was just like the guess, like, this is the future. This is what it is, right? And we can kind of see that in some of the AI stuff too as well. And I think a big thing people need to remember is that these situations inflate it, just like the superficial problems. Like, for example, if you have a really nice running car, everything works inside, but it's dirty and it needs new tires and it might need like a new battery, people might not buy it, or might ask for the price to be much lower, even though all you would need to put into it is like $100 in a wash, right? You wouldn't be able to sell it for like the actual price that it is because of these smaller problems. So just like there can be high inflation for things that like we don't really know, there can be low as well for very small issues. And the same thing can be for companies as well. What happened with just a few months ago, earlier this year, Amazon, they did something where they said they were going to be putting more money into something, and the stock dropped a whole bunch because people were just pulling out. They're like, oh my gosh, they're using up all their funds and whatnot. And then the next quarter comes around and they're like, oh, actually we did twice as better as we thought. We don't have to spend all the money that we thought we were going to have to spend, so everything's great. And people just started buying it back up. So there was like just a little scratch, just a little, a change of what they were thinking about doing, and people immediately started dropping, like, oh, it's going out, no one's going to want it. Everyone uses Amazon. It's not going anywhere just because they want to spend a little bit more money on something. It's not. So it actually might even be used more because people will be afraid that if the stock is dropping, they're like, oh, Amazon's going away, I need to buy everything I need from them now. So it's interesting how that can work, right? Page 8. If the value of the thing you bought is greater than the price you paid, you are guaranteed to make money. Risk is gone. Only question is, how long do you have to wait? Might not be able to sell immediately for a profit. So that's the big difference about this mindset, is that like a lot of investors, gamblers that invest in the stock market, they're investing for almost an immediate pay in return. They're going to put their money in, they're going to let it skyrocket for just a little bit, and they're going to take it right back out, which is going to drop the price back down again. So one thing you have to remember when we're investing for a long period of time, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because the goal is to eventually, sometimes even, to see the price go down, be able to buy it at cheaper, and then watch it go back up eventually, as the stock has always done. It's always been up and down, but it's been going up at the same time, Page 9. 10 out of 10 rule. Don't buy a business for 10 minutes if you wouldn't own it for 10 years. 1. Forces you to think long term. 2. If the market is bad, we want it to be... 2. If the market is bad, we want... There's an arrow. Be okay with... Oh yeah. If the market's bad, we want it. Be okay with... owning it for 10 years. Mostly it's just saying... I don't know, my notes are a little all over the place right here for some reason. But mostly it's just saying, like, you want to think long term, and you want to know that, like, just because the market's bad does not mean we can't buy anything. And, like, in fact, a bad market is the best time to buy. A good market is the worst time to buy, because you're going to be buying everything at the most highest price that it can be, the most expensive price. And do you want to buy a Gucci bag at, right after it comes out and it's like the highest price? Or do you want to buy it after somebody who bought it at that price, never used it, and now wants to sell it, for the new thing that's coming out the next year for half the price, for a third of the price? Of course you're going to want to buy it on sale. You're not going to want to buy it at the main price. I mean, you can, but that's not smart in my opinion. And even more so if you can get it for free, right? He puts an example in here, actually, about a lady who knows how to buy fur jackets. And she knows what price they need to be at and everything. She knows them really well. Like mink jackets or something like that. And so there was this person who was selling a jacket, and she was like, oh, this is the price I'll pay for it. And they're like, oh, we want more for it. And she waited. She's like, well, give me a call if no one else wants to buy it at the price. I'll buy it at this price. And guess what? Buys it at the price. He does the same example with a horse. He wants to get a horse, and they see this horse, and somebody has died, so the family's trying to sell the horse, but the horse hasn't been taken care of since the person's died, so the hooves are overgrown and whatnot. And they make their offer for the horse, and they're like, no, we want it at this price. They're like, all right, well, here's our number. Let us know if no one wants it. And no one wanted it, so they call them, and guess what? They got the horse at that price. So you got to make sure you know your price that you're willing to pay for the value of it, and make sure that value, the price that you're paying, is half of the price of the value, so that way you can make your money back. When your price goes down and you buy more, it measurably increases your own return, and I don't know what this word is that I wrote, but the compounding return increases a whole bunch. It must have been a really smart word that I forgot. I don't know why. All right, so now we're going to talk more about like compounding and how to buy it as it's like going down. So page 10, he makes some compounding examples, and here's the one that I got. The loan is $60,000. You give somebody this loan. In 5 years, you're going to get $100,000. That's a 10% compounded rate. Now, the loan is $5,000, and you still get the $10,000 in 5 years. That's a 15 compound rate. Now, the loan is $25,000, and you're still going to get the $100,000 in 5 years. That's a 30% compound rate. You understand how is more as it goes up, as the less you pay, right? He compares this to what he calls a zero coupon bond, like treasure bonds work that way. I didn't know I know what a treasury bond is, but I didn't know what a zero coupon bond was, so I looked into it. And a zero coupon bond are bonds that pay no periodic interest and are sold at a discount with the full face value repaid and at maturity. The problem is that corporations and municipals may default, and there are annual taxes. So I'm not sure if you guys want to get zero coupons, because that, the example makes it sound really nice. There are bad parts to it, so that's why he says it works like this, right? This is how stockpiling works. The lower your price goes as you stockpile the stock, the more your compounding return goes up. So, page 11, exploring rates of return. Stock value is $20. This is more examples, so just so you guys can understand how stockpiling works. Stock value is $20, selling for $10. I have $160,000. So you buy stock, $20,000 for $2K, shares for $10. Then a month later, the price drops, at least that's our hope, to $5, or if it does, drops, we're assuming to $5, you buy more stock, $20,000 for 4K shares for $5. Then the price drops again, we hope, and if it does, this one example is it drops to $1, then you buy more. And here you buy 20,000 more for 20,000 shares for $1. Average price per share is $2.30. 5 years later, the shares sell for $20 per share. You have $520,000, which is a 54% compounded return. And that is just because we know if the company is good, if we know the true value, which is paying attention to the finances, then we know eventually it should go back to that price of being $20 because that's the real value. Page 12. The catch. Why buy as the price drops when everyone else is selling, right? That's the question. Why would we buy as the price is dropping? Page 13. This is about staying reasonable versus their emotions. So he talks about this person, Rudyard Kipling, and the If poem. Mature fund managers center 85% of the in the market of mature fund managers control 85% of the money in the market. Our 5,900 out of 5,500 fund managers, they follow, catch others to impress, and sell. Do you think they understand over 500 companies? Probably not. Okay, so is that the rest of those notes? Yes. So in this section, I forgot to go look up this If poem. I needed to do that. I didn't put a check mark. That's my bad. But you guys can go check out that If poem. I'm pretty sure it had something to do about, I don't even remember actually. But I do remember this, the fund managers thing. So what he's saying is that these fund managers control pretty much all of the money in the market. 85% is a high amount. And he did a test with over 5,000 fund managers to see like how they would do and what their return was. And I think it was like 3%, like a handful of them did 15% returns. And so he was just saying the way that their jobs work, the way that fund managers have to be perceived is they always have to have their portfolios looking positive, which means everything that they own needs to always be going up. And it's not just because they're trying to impress each other or they're trying to like look cool, but it's also because people who give them their money don't understand how it works, which is why we're learning this, is because people hand over fund manager money and then they expect, well, I want to see my portfolio always going up. But the issue is that to actually make a good return, your portfolio can't always be going up. You have to be going down and buying in as it's going down, and then over the years let it go up so that way you can see those high returns. Without that, you're going to barely see any returns, and you're going to get most of those returns taken in by fees. So the big thing here is that they're just investing in all these different companies that they don't really know, and there's 500 different companies, and he's pretty much asking, like, do you think any one fund manager is going to know and understand 500 different companies, be able to invest in them appropriately? Probably not. The answer is like most likely no. If you can barely understand it, then why would they know and understand how to invest in every single one company that they're buying into? They don't. They just see the ticker going up and they know that's the one they need to buy into. Page 14. For mutual fund managers, it's about price, not value. They have to see an increase in a few months or dump the stock and buy something else. Long-term down market ruins their entire way of life. A buy and hold doesn't work when prices are only dropping. Intricate clients pull money out of funds when prices drop. We buy when fear is the main emotion and sell when greed is. So he made this claim. I didn't see in here that he had any statistics or anything to like back it up. So he said 66% of people say they want to own or start a business, and 15 already do. So I looked into it a little bit. His whole point of saying that was that if that is true, then at least a fifth of people have the necessary best urges toward basic business ownership that can lead to a bright, wealthy future. So I just wanted to double check these statistics because I honestly don't know. So what I found online was that through some websites, which I will hopefully link down below, is that it's more like between the ages of 18 and 24, it's 15 to 20% of the population. And from 18 to 65, it's 19% of the population say they want to own or start to own a business. And even within that, it's really different, actually, which was really interesting. I'm kind of just sharing it to share it more than like the fact that I feel like it's going to help you. But people who are black tend to be at 81% more likely to say they want to start a business. White people being at 74% and Hispanic people being at 79%. Women leading just by a little bit wanting to own businesses at a 79% and men being at 75%. Very interesting like adjustments, but that's within that 20%ish range of people wanting to own businesses. So it's on the lower end actually. I know actually Phill Town is a very positive, like more trying to see the world in the brighter light. So I'm not surprised that whatever statistics he found at that time could be different now, right? But also he probably would have picked the higher statistic or number that he found of 66%. But even for me, I feel like that's a little high because the majority of people in my life that I've met had not wanted to start a business. Like everyone I've ever asked, like if they ever want to start a business, they were like, no, that sounds like too much work. No. Even more so for white people. So just a little thing. If you want to start a business, what he's saying is if you have that urge, you have a higher likelihood of having the urges and the right things you need to be able to build big wealth. 50 million people pay mature fund managers, and that is actually true. Lots of people pay the fund managers. There's actually a specific like one that I've talked about before that is a school fund, like for teachers, is a teacher fund that they put all their money in, and it actually controls, I think, like 54 to 70 some % of the market. And if all those people would all those teachers would take their funds out of the fund manager, the teachers of of the United States would literally control the market. But hey, I digress. Page 15. Why do people want to invest in their own companies but pass on the work when investing in other companies? That's a good question. It's like, I want to take care of mine, but if it's yours, like, I don't care. Here's the money. It's such a weird attitude to have, I think. Page 16. Why would you be excited to see hamburger prices go down if the plan to buy burgers all your life, if you plan to buy burgers all your life and don't plan to be a cattle producer, but not to be happy to see stock prices go down as an investor? So essentially what he's saying is like, if you were going to buy hamburgers all your life, why would you not want the price of hamburgers to go down? It's the same thing as if you're an investor, why would you not want stock prices to go down? Page 17. Wonderful businesses take small amounts of money and compound. When you buy a wonderful company on sale, your ratio of return increases dramatically. When you stockpile, your ROR increases more. Page 18. Buffett made 100% per year in 1950 with peanuts. Then 36% when his capital got bigger and 24% when it hit $1 billion. Small size is good. If Buffett knows he can make 50% with 1 million, why couldn't we do half of that? And I think this is just, and Buffett did say that, you can find that online, that he felt like he could make easily $1 million, at least 50% return on $1 million. So I think it's just saying, like, if he believes he can do that, then why is somebody who's less educated but has the right path, why couldn't we do just a little bit of that, at least half, 25%. Page 19. Expect 24% per year compounded rate, 16 trillion in 10 years. Expect 24% per year compounded rate. He guessed the government would borrow 4 trillion in the stock market that was worth 9 trillion at the time. And I looked into this and what happened. And the stock market now is worth 61 to 69 trillion, and the government has borrowed since this about 10 years ago 16 trillion in the last 10 years. So more than double what he was expecting. But also, the stock market has increased like 60 times? Is that what it? Am I right? Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. It is having a devastating effect on the, what's that word? It's going to have a devastating effect on paying for Social Security and Medicare. Will you have it? Yes. Will it be nice? Probably not. And I think we are actually seeing those effects now. I think we can see plenty of people would say like their Medicare is not being covered. They're always taking back what they want to cover, right? It's hard to get Medicare to cover things. And I don't hear anyone living off of Social Security alone anymore. Like everyone has some other form of income or some other form of money coming in to pay for their livelihood after they retire. Page 20. Oh. Take away and this is our homework. We're done. We're all done. This is our takeaway. Okay. Besides reading the next chapter, chapter 2 for next week, the takeaways and action items, the homework that he left us at the end. Learn to value a company and build a portfolio. Follow a stockpile strategy. Determine true intrinsic value of business and buy stocks in those companies when on sale. 2. Stockpile as long as you can buy them on sale. 3. Follow 10 out of 10 rule, which means don't own a business for 10 minutes if you wouldn't own it for 10 years. And 4. Sell at or above the value of the profit. Go to paybacktimebook.com. Take investing profile test. So I looked into it. Paybacktimebook.com does not exist. It is the Rule 1 investing, actually from his last book. I think he must have just upgraded it, decided to merge them or whatever. And I do believe that is on there. I'll look for it and hopefully have it down here in the links for you guys to find easily. But yeah, that's it. That's the homework. Look into those things. We got to figure out how we're valuing companies and building a portfolio and look into stockpile strategies, which I'm hoping the last few books that I've read and put up on YouTube, you can go find them, will help you do that. But even more so, I know in the future he's going to show us how. So join me next week and continue our education, learning, and investing. If you're finding this on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Hit that bell icon down below so that way you know when to invest when I'm posting. And leave a comment down below. What are you thinking about this book right now? What do you guys feel about the statistics that I found? Do you feel like they're accurate? And do you guys think you can wrap your head around this type of idea of investing? Or does it feel too weird for you and you'd rather just give it to somebody who you're going to have to pay to make money for you that can't make as much as you could make on return on investment? Let me know down below. And until next time, guys. Bye.